Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide on this meditative practice that enters a state of mindfulness through the act of drawing. This week, I felt like something that was just a releasing, opening up, and moving around kind of drawing. No special technique, no guided figure, just following a path and seeing where it might go. Something like footsteps in the snow that might emerge onto the drawing into a larger pattern. We'll see what happens there. We'll use this to find spaces of relaxation by entering the breath, by entering the sensations of the body, noticing, opening, and just following wherever those guides may lead us. I might work a little between a kind of marker pen and maybe a soft pencil. Whatever works for you. This should be fine with anything. Pen, pencil, charcoal, any kind of paper you'd like to work on. I have a pad of Bristol here. You could work with a sketchbook, a note card, pretty much anything you have at hand to explore these episodes of mindfulness that you can bring to your day anytime by practicing them here in our shared connection. Go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. Okay, go ahead and get started. I think I'm going to work with kind of a markery pen, some of the pencil, just quick drawing stuff today, and start with the marker for the warm-up so it's easy to see what's happening. I don't know if I have a strong theme for the warm-up. Couldn't think of much, and so I thought we'll just follow some dots around the page, develop some motion, and see what it turns into. So that can start out as just finding a way to draw a dot. A few revolutions around, maybe one revolution, an open dot. Playing around in the warm-up with a few different ways. I think I will start with more pronounced, kind of heavy dots and begin them tracking along in a line or a curve that can meander, change direction at any new location of the dot. We're just getting a feel for the hand where you want to hold the pen or pencil closer to the tip. Fine control, really taxing on some of the muscles there in the fingers. Further out, a looser control, maybe a little wobblier in the shapes it makes, but a little softer on the arm. And what we'll do is, after following a path for a while, you can just keep winding and going, or if you run out of space, starting again, and kind of tracking loosely along the same path, a mirror or reflection of the same curve, but that at any time can take its own path and begin to wander, just starting from something close and moving out. As we go through the exercise, we might begin to fill in the space between things with quicker, lighter dots, tracking new pathways, extending them into local clusters that we'll save and see how far we get. And maybe even further along, we'll have some time to explore their boundary, their perimeter. We'll see what we get to. Mostly we'll just be tracking along the little journey of footsteps, little dots, and this pen felt good to work with, so I think I'll stay there. Moving to the larger page, I'm just going to set the pen or pencil down for a second and make sure my hands are present, make sure they come to some of the awareness of my mind, just pressing the palms together lightly, and then moving the fingers back and forth, a little bit of a stretch. Doesn't have to go too far, but it brings the mind into attention there. The tips of the fingers pressing their nerves together, the bend and flex around the knuckles. Maybe rotate them and give each one a little hug with the other. Just pressing some fluid around, grabbing and working some massage over the fingers just to get them nice and loose, wiggle them in space. Notice the sensations that come with that, passing over of the skin, leaving the phantom for a little while, the clenching and release, making that sensation linger on. See if we can find a little of that in the drawing. A nice establishing breath just to come into your space, fill out the lungs and let it out. To relax to where you are, to notice where you are as we pick up our pen or pencil, whatever you'd like to draw with. Become comfortable and familiar with the page, the sketchbook, or the canvas on the paper, and then finding a place where you'd like to begin to draw the dot. Just making that first mark. And to begin with, we'll just find some trajectories. You can move as fast or as slow as feels comfortable. Starting to slowly bring awareness to where we are, but first marking out some of that space there on the paper so it's not so broad and empty that there's no need to know where the trajectory goes or the path wanders. The dots can take care of it as we move. And just opening up the attention out of that tip of the pen or pencil, out of the tip of the fingers. How many revolutions do you make per mark? 1 dot, 4 or 5 revolutions to fill in, 1 dot, 1 revolution to be empty. I encourage just to do several to kind of broaden it, give it more thickness to the pen or pencil. Maybe you can bring some counting into that attention. It can be a little hard with listening and also drawing, but notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 revolutions, whatever it may be for you. Some time to sit with it and see if it can become a little consistent for a while. And the dot then becomes a rhythm we can work with, and the speed can be flexible, how it feels good to move, whatever instrument you're using. A heavy markery pen like this may put out material quickly. A fine pen may be much more precise and a bit slower. A pencil, smooth, and spreading the dots wherever it is. Wherever this path is on its journey along the page, I'm going to begin to enter into some of our breathing for relaxation, with the drawing, the pulsing of the breath with each repeated moment, bringing that deeper awareness in by focusing closer to ourselves in our present moment. Beginning by taking a breath before we draw the next mark or dot, and as you exhale, forming that action on the page. When the breath runs out, moving to the next, breathing in, then letting it out with action. In to locate and bring your eyes into attention with the local context, out to move and establish that place of presence. In to replenish and out to release. The exhalation becoming a place of expression. The inhalation, a moment of observation and decision, that placing of the next mark, fitting between the beats of our kind of pulsing breath. loosely tracking along one path or paralleling another with the flexibility of each engagement of the breath in and out. A slower pace, perhaps just between the moments of drawing. The pace of the dot can remain whatever works for you, without collapsing of time for a little while between our breaths. A taking in of the landscape, a quieting, just being with the inhalation. Can you bring some attention to the hearing there? Hearing the breath move over the nostrils or through the lips. Hearing the breath exhale, and perhaps the pen or pencil moving on the paper. Our attention to sensations, to the signals internally drawing us in, the action of drawing an expression bringing us out, that oscillation tied to our own rhythms. Establishing a place of presence and also a relaxing oxygenation of the bloodstream, a slow being there. And we can begin to let that loosen, let our attention shift from that internal establishing space to the drawing space, now that we have a pretty good number of marks, lines, and dots present on the page. We begin to move again a little quicker, or keep pace with the breath, whichever suits how you're feeling. Now bringing our attention back to the movement of the pen or pencil. I notice the fibers of the paper and the fibers of the marker creating a light crackling against each other as they fill in the spot. What do you notice about the interaction of the instrument and the medium? That texture, a part of the paper, its connection back to the natural fibers, the micro vibrations waking up sensors in the fingertips, waking up neurons in the mind, practicing their noticing. And from that starting place, at the very tip of the pen or pencil, can we look in to the fingers? What do you feel at the tips as you move beyond that light vibration? The pressure shifts from the index to the thumb to the supporting finger. You're drawing quickly. It's a rapid oscillation around that gripping motion, lightly guiding the delicate drawing instrument. If you draw slow for a little while, you can bring those sensations more into the forefront. Feel the smooth handoff between each joint. As my mind moves farther up the hand, you may feel some of the major knuckles just gradually rocking in their joints. The muscles of the forearm and the micro muscles of the hand, so dexterously moving them around, bringing that finer and finer expression to the page, or if you're holding far out on the pen, perhaps larger, looser wobblings. Something happening in that joint. I notice the pen or pencil leaning against my upper finger and hand area, sliding gradually back and forth. Listening in to the body. We're drawing a lot of repetitive motion. If the hand ever feels tight or the fingers get tired, taking a little break, moving it around, and then coming back. A chance for the eyes to take in something new. A chance to see connections. But as the page may be beginning to get full, depending on the space you have and the speed you're drawing, some figuration there taking shape, we can look deeper into it for new connections, or just keep traveling along the path as we take a few minutes of internal drawing, quiet, letting the eye and the hand work together for a little while. This is where I think I'll find some new lighter dot expressions between things, tracking trajectories across the field, finding new pathways. But whatever you'd like to look for, it's time to be open, to explore, to see what we can fill out here in the overall field for a few minutes. We begin to come back into the space together. We begin to look for a closing to the exercise. That may be continuing to mark the little tracks in the snow of the paper. Perhaps there's now figures forming, lines wrapping, or trajectories extending through the page that your eyes begin to take in, letting them come back a little from the drawing to look in to the space, finding one thing to close out your practice for the day. Myself, I think I'll look for regions on the inside and the outside, just providing them an outline to take the loose, dotted figure and turn it into something with shape, but whatever you look for in these last few minutes, let the mind be open from all the work and time spent practicing its awareness. Let it see what patterns, shapes, or figures might emerge on the paper. Moving with a longer flow, as in a curve or a line, may help bring some rest to the hand that's been working tightly, or accentuate the work that it's been doing with a little extra engagement and slight change to those muscles, moving at a different speed or pace, bringing back tension after some time quietly embedded in the act of drawing, bringing us back through our senses to the space around us. As we close the practice, feel free to keep drawing if it can happen at the same time, or let it come to a rest, but a few deep breaths to feel the body re-engaged, filling out the space of the lungs. Taking a little extra sip at the top, and then letting it flow out. Whatever pace that starts to take for you, we'll do a few more. Deeply filling, expanding. Heavily releasing. On the next one, making that attention present, feeling all the muscles of the torso stretched, and then all the muscles relax. Coming gently to a completion of the exercise. As the formal portion of the practice comes to a close, that may be enough. Some time spent with self, relaxing, engaging in a singular act of expression, of mindfulness, a practice that may bring some fatigue to the fingers, to the mind, to our awareness of our space here and now. But if you're feeling energized, feeling open, I encourage you to take some time to keep drawing, to keep following those patterns, see where they might lead. And if you so like, put on some music and just let that drawing continue to unfold a little while with some shading and some relishing of that space I've created for myself. And if you keep the drawing going, or just take with you what you've gained from the exercise, I hope it serves you in the rest of your day. Thank you for joining. Draw well.